Let me tell you what's really going on, because the whispers are too loud to ignore anymore. The streets are buzzing, the insiders are talking, and the picture they're painting isn't pretty. Harry and Meghan's fairy tale? It's cracking fast. The word being passed around isn't trouble or rough patch, it's divorce. And not in some distant, maybe one day future. No, people are saying soon. The way they move lately doesn't look like a team. They used to stand shoulder to shoulder, hands clasped, eyes locked, united against the world. But now, there's distance, there's tension. And behind closed doors, the emotional walls are shaking. Professionally, personally, everything's wobbling. So if you've been wondering what's really happening between Harry and Meghan, buckle up. Because what's coming out of those palace-sized walls is pure chaos. Insiders say it plain and simple. This marriage wasn't held together by love or romance. It was glued by chaos. You heard that right. They didn't thrive on calm dinners or romantic walks. No. Their connection worked best when the world was throwing stones at them. They lived off the adrenaline of drama, the headlines, the criticism, the us versus them energy. Like two rebellious teens who only bond when they're in trouble together. One insider didn't mince words. They don't even like much about each other. Can you imagine? A marriage that only feels strong when everything else is falling apart? That's not love, that's survival. That's not a honeymoon, it's a storm shelter. As long as they were fighting the world together, they felt united. But when the attack slowed, when the noise dimmed, something shifted. The glue that held them started to dry up. Their connection wasn't built on peace, it was built on panic. And once the chaos stopped, what was left? Silence. Cold, awkward, heavy silence. Now here's where things start turning from emotional to strategic. Because according to a February 2025 Vanity Fair report, someone from Meghan's camp allegedly made a very interesting move. They reached out to a publishing house with one specific question. If Harry and Meghan divorced, would they be interested in a book not about the royal life? Not about the marriage, but about Meghan's life after the divorce. Let that sink in. This wasn't after a split. This was while they were still married. Still appearing in public together, still smiling for cameras, the rep reportedly made it clear no, they weren't divorcing, at least publicly, but they wanted to know. Would there be interest in a post-divorce book? And guess what? Neither Harry nor Meghan denied the claim. And we all know they are quick to shut down stories they don't like. The silence this time? Oh, it wasn't just silence. It was interesting. No contracts, no manuscript, but the question was out there. And questions like that don't just appear out of thin air. If emotional separation was the rehearsal, this felt like the first legal whisper. The quiet signal that someone was already imagining a world where Harry and Meghan weren't Harry and Meghan but two separate stories, two separate futures. Now, if that felt like the spark of separation, wait till you hear about the explosions happening inside their home. Every time a scandal hit, and we all know there were many insiders, say they'd go from Team Us to not speaking. Here's the biggest issue. They allegedly couldn't agree on how to handle their image. Meghan wanted to fight back, loud, bold, aggressive. She wanted to correct the narrative, take the stage, and set the record straight. She wanted the headlines, the statements, the showdown. Harry, though, he wanted silence, calm. No more interviews, no more cameras. He was tired of the circus, the drama, the backlash. He wanted fewer headlines, fewer fights, just peace. So inside their mansion, it wasn't a love story, it was strategy versus strategy, ego versus ego, fire versus ice. Every new controversy, bullying, accusations, racial allegations, failed deals turned into another explosive argument. One insider said it felt like crisis after crisis, with the two of them blowing up at each other constantly. Harry reportedly felt buried, trapped in endless bad publicity, suffocating under headlines he couldn't escape. Meghan, on the other hand, was furious about their brand collapsing, furious at being mocked, furious that her global image was slipping. It was like watching two people in a sinking boat, one yelling to row faster, the other begging to stop rocking it. And when frustration turns into resentment, resentment turns into blame. And blame? That's the poison no marriage survives. Up until now, Harry always looked like the loyal soldier standing beside Meghan, defending her, fighting the critics, playing the role of the perfect ride-or-die husband. But insiders say something snapped. They claim Harry's been longing for one thing he gave up. Home, the UK. Not the fame, not Hollywood lights, not Netflix cameras, but home. The pub nights, the old friends, the laughter, the sense of belonging. Sources even say he misses being liked. Imagine that, Prince Harry, once the cheeky royal everyone adored, now feeling like an outsider in a world that doesn't get him. He reportedly hates the Hollywood lifestyle, the constant branding, the showmanship, the performative smiles. To him, it's foreign. Exhausting, like wearing clothes that never fit. And as their image kept sliding downhill, he began to fade into the background, sidelined in his own story. Then came the solo appearances, the quiet birthdays, the distance you could almost see, and those thoughts started whispering louder. I want my old life back. Not the throne, not the royal power, just peace. Because Harry isn't just tired now, he's homesick. Homesick for a world without chaos, without cameras, without the endless performance. And once a man starts dreaming of escape, he's already halfway out the door. Now let's talk about the deeper layer, their brand. Because Harry and Meghan weren't just a couple, they were a brand. And when that brand started collapsing, the marriage began to follow. The numbers don't lie. Royal favorability polls showed Harry's positive ratings crashing to 28%, with 58% seeing him negatively. Meghan fell even harder, 20% positive, 66% negative. That's not a dip, that's a nosedive. Insiders say Meghan was furious about her fall from grace. The tension over failed projects, Spotify, Netflix struggles, canceled deals became daily drama inside their home. Every bad headline wasn't just PR trouble, it was a marital argument. Every flop wasn't just business, it was personal. When your marriage is your brand, and your brand starts failing, suddenly your love life feels like a business collapse. Success brought them together. Failure pulled them apart. They weren't winning together anymore. They weren't even walking in the same direction. The brand was sinking, and the marriage was sinking with it. Now, while Harry has turned quiet, introspective, longing for simplicity, Meghan seems to be following a familiar pattern, at least according to royal biographers. Hugo Vickers said something that made everyone freeze. He said people act in character, and Meghan's pattern is to cut ties when something no longer serves her direction. He listed them one by one. Her father, Thomas Markle. Her first husband, Trevor Engelson, the Canadian chef. Her ex-best friend, Jessica Mulroney. The entire royal family. Snip, snip, snip. Each chapter ended the same way, her walking away, rewriting her story, and placing herself at the center as the misunderstood survivor, the one who endured, the one who overcame. And then came his chilling question, so who's next for the chop? He suggested, almost coldly, that one day Meghan might decide she doesn't need Harry anymore. And when that moment comes, the narrative will flip. Meghan as the victim, Harry as the problem. Not because she'll admit fault, because she never does. It's a pattern, and patterns don't lie. If Meghan's path is always forward toward Hollywood, toward new projects, toward independence, then where does that leave Harry? What happens to the man who no longer fits the script? What if the separation isn't accidental? What if it's just another step in the cycle? Zoom out and the picture becomes crystal clear. Harry and Meghan's relationship was built in storms. They found love through chaos, unity through drama, purpose through the noise. The world's hostility made them feel unbreakable. But storms don't last forever. The headlines quieted. The public cooled. The spotlight dimmed. And suddenly, they weren't a team fighting enemies. They were just two people standing in silence. Harry facing backward toward home, toward peace, toward a normal life. Meghan facing forward toward reinvention, Hollywood, solo projects, her next act. Two paths, two dreams, no overlap, no shared future. Insiders whisper they're creatively divorced. Others say they're living apart. And some claim the legal divorce is already being discussed. But here's the twist that hits hardest. If their love began in a storm, maybe it won't end in fireworks. Maybe it'll end in silence. Not with statements or press releases, but with a quiet fade. A slow drift into separate worlds. No grand finale, no explosive public fight, just two people who stopped showing up together. A marriage that started with fire, now flickering into embers. Two lives, two directions, one ending that no one expected but everyone saw coming. And in that silence, you can almost feel it, the end of the fairy tale. Not with a roar, but with a whisper.